So please help me welcome Cora Lonning, DTM.
Thank you, Ryan. And what Ryan left out of that is in between our cosmic connection. We're connected on Facebook, and I get to hear and witness and participate in his fabulous personality, sense of humor, incredible thoughts. So we've stayed connected even between our cosmic Toastmaster connection. So I thank you for that, jumping in and doing a introduction. Today's presentation is about TedX. The conference theme is A New World Requires New Thought. And if there's anything about a new thought, it's TedX, right? And so hopefully you came in here wanting to learn more about TedX, how to get involved and what it looks like. So the first thing I would like to propose, and Ryan's going to manage the chat box a little bit. What do you think, just off the top of your head, might have been some of the top most watched TEDx videos of 2020? Now, I think we can all predict the obvious toppers would have been about pandemic topics, elections, racial biases, equity, climate change, because TED Talks reflect and speak to what is happening in our world about new thought. But here's a surprise. Some of the top TEDx talks in 2020 were how bees keep peace between elephants and humans in Africa. Who saw that coming? Another one was how brands shape our humanity and how branding reflects the state of our humanity. Another top TED Talk of 2020 was a call to stop the nicotine addiction through legislation. So that's interesting, right? So here's what I would like for you to do. And I'm going to send you a PowerPoint slide that has all of the information that I'm about to present you on that slide at the end. And Ryan, our Zoom master, will put that in the chat box for you. I'm going to present you the top 10 most watched TED Talks of all time. And I want you to throw in into the chat box which one you would say, oh yeah, I saw that and I love that. Or if you have one that's not on the TED Talk, on the top 10, throw that one in.
This one is second.
So here we go. Here is the top 10. Number 10 of the top 10, The Power of Introverts. Anybody remember that one by Susan Cain? The Power, that was powerful. I remember that, and it was like, whoa. It just changed the way people saw introverts. Number 9, The Surprising Science of Happiness. That really had such an impact on people. That was by Dan Gilbert. Number 8, The Puzzle of Motivation by Daniel Pink. Really proposed a different way of looking at motivation in the workplace. Still talked about today. People still talk about that one. Number 7 was a Tony Robbins talk, Why We Do What We Do. That one is shown more times in conferences. Number 6. Oh my gosh, I have watched number 6 so many times. When we talk about the future, number 6, The Thrilling Potential of Sixth Sense Technology. I remember my mind just going, whoa. Number 5, Jill Bolt Taylor, a neurologist researcher, studies the brain, gave a talk on my stroke of insight, how she had a stroke and walked us through what that looked like. Remember that one? It was amazing. Number 4, I just know everybody has heard this one. This has really gripped the world. The Power of Vulnerability with Brené Brown. That was so powerful. And it really launched so many other things for her and for us as a society. If any of you are Simon Sinek's followers, his TED Talk, How Great Leaders Inspire Action, this was a launching pad for him. That was number 3. Number 2 gets quoted so often. I hear this all the time. Your body language may shape you. Amy Cuddy, really talking about how we stand and how we present ourselves non-verbally is so powerful in our world. And we have the ability to gain personal power through our body language. And number 1, I personally have watched this TED Talk so many times. It speaks to my industry, to me personally. It helped me understand so much. And this video, this TED Talk has been watched so many times. It is Sir Ken Robinson. Do schools kill creativity? He has spoken so many times at TED Talks. This TED Talk has been remade, reproduced, resent. It's incredibly popular. So go ahead and put in into the chat box. His books are great. If there's one of those that are like, oh, that is my all-time favorite TED Talk. If you have another one, for me, my personal favorite TED Talk is titled What Comes After Tragedy? Forgiveness. And it's presented by 2 people, Plez Felix and Azim, and they talk about forgiveness as the father of a youth that was killed by a gang member and the father of that gang member that killed his son. And it is so incredibly powerful where these 2 are on the stage talking about what forgiveness looks like.
I'm so lucky.
So that's my personal favorite. So put in the chat box. Ryan, what do we got so far?
Not much right now. So if you want to put in your favorite TED Talk, drop it into chat. Go.
You'll find me in front of this.
Yeah.
I may transfer it to other rooms, and you'll find me in front of this.
Haven't seen the power. Okay, so the power of introverts. Oh my gosh, that is really helpful. Not just for people that aren't introverts. That really helped people, introverts, be able to understand themselves. That was really. Oh, did someone just count that? Continue to think about those. We're going to move forward. Today's session is really about understanding what a TED Talk is. We're going to define, if I were to apply to be a TED Talker, what are they looking for? What is a TED Talk? So that's number 1. What are curators looking for? What is a TED Talk? Number 2, what are the steps to becoming a TED Talker? And number 3, is the red dot for you? Is that the place where your voice, your story needs to be heard? Because what other options? TedX, the TED community, is a very wide community. And the red dot isn't the only place for you to share your story and for your voice to be heard. What other options are there? So those are the 3 things that we're going to cover in today's meeting. So just to get started, what does TED stand for? Does anybody know that? Trivia question.
I do.
Who? Okay, what is it, Ryan?
It's technology, education, and design.
Yes, excellent. Way to go. Big hand for Ryan. Exactly. Originally, TED started out at a conference where they wanted to bring together those three things: technology, entertainment, and design. And it just took off. They wanted to just bring together ideas. How do we improve? What does the future look like? And now, of course, as we know, it covers all ideas. But that is what TED stands for and what it started for. It's just that collision of those three things. And who is licensed? Anybody can apply for a license. So in San Antonio, you'll hear me refer mostly to TEDx San Antonio because that's my experience. There is a group of people that came together. They were big thinkers in our city, and they said, we want to bring to the city of San Antonio a TEDx platform, and they applied for the license. The original sponsor and the funder of that was Graham Weston from Rackspace. He said, I agree, let's do it. Many of the original licensee appliers are still on the board today. So there's a lot of consistency there on the board. Originally, it was housed under Trinity University as the nonprofit. They moved out and created their own nonprofit called Fiesta for the Mind. So when you hear of TEDx San Antonio, you'll hear Fiesta of the Mind and TEDx San Antonio, because the license has to be housed under a nonprofit entity. So that's where you'll hear those interchanged words. So who's ready to just jump in? What is a TED Talk? Are we ready? Let's go. What defines a TED Talk, and what is a curator looking for? So what I want to just present, and you'll hear me say this over and over and over again. TED originally, in the past, today, and in the future, will always be about spreading great ideas. That is their sole purpose, that is the mission, and that's what everything is based on, spreading great ideas. So the curation process of TED franchises is the heart of that. Protecting and promoting a sole purpose of spreading great ideas. So as TED organizers, their stewards is to make sure that they protect that reputation as a forum for sharing ideas that matter. So first I want to state, what is a TED Talk not? The TED stage, the red dot, will never allow any type of commercial agenda. If the idea is to promote self or a product or a service, the red dot is not the place. If it's a political or an inflammatory agenda, it does not belong on the red dot. That's not to say that some of the topics have a political element to them, because the ideas are sometimes challenging the status quo, but it's not political agenda driven, as in this side is right and that side is wrong. It does discuss issues of the day. A TED Talk does not have any religious agenda. Again, oftentimes religion is addressed and is a big part of the discussion on the TED platform and in the red dot. However, any talk that comes and says, my way is right and their way is wrong, will not be placed in a red dot. And this particular, my fourth item of what a TED Talk is so clear. It used to be kind of vague, but now they're getting more and more and more clear on this. No bad science. No bad science. As they come up with this, what they call fake science, more and more, there's more and more content creation being thrown out in our world. The TED platform says, we only put on our red dot real science. So a TED Talk cannot have vague reference to research shows or what I have found or what I believe. It must be grounded in either accepted theory, accepted research, or you have done the research yourself. So no bad science. So those are the things that a TED Talk is not. So you've decided you want to apply, you want to have your voice heard, you have a great idea, you want to share it. What elements does your talk need to have for a curator to consider? What does a TED Talk have? What is it? A TED Talk helps people understand the world. It helps me have a better understanding of the world. Sir Ken Robinson in Do Schools Kill Creativity helped people see the issues around education so much more clearly. The way he outlined the whole timeline, outlined the issue, and proposed a solution for everybody was, whoa, I get it. I get it. And that helped so many people see the world better and understand the issues. So if your great idea is going to help me understand better, it's a great idea. Is your idea reliable? Is it testable? Does it meet the standards? Can I, is what the research you've done repeatable? So if you remember in the Brene Brown, she talked about vulnerability. She brought forth years and years and years of research to this idea of vulnerability and shame. And it resonated. It so resonated. But she didn't just come, this is what I feel, this is what I believe. She had research to back it up and prove it. And that is what would be considered real science. Your talk will potentially have the ability to change how others view the world. Maybe I think this way, and your idea will cause me to think this way. The power of introverts was such a paradigm shift for so many people. Not just those, again, that are extroverts and how they looked at introverts, but how introverts viewed the way they interacted with the world. It was a huge shift, and it was so empowering for so many people, for organizations, for individuals, for teams. It was a shift. Will your idea help the world look at things differently? Ideas truly are the most powerful way to shape our future. We were just visiting with that, Jenny said earlier, like, we're not going to go back to what was, but what does the future look like? And it's ideas that are going to shape that. In the TED Talk, The Thrilling Potential of Sixth Sense Technology, I remember watching that, and it was just, wow, wow. When he proposed that we walk around with these devices in our hands, and we're so connected to these. We're connected at the desks, and we're connected here. And that there's a different way, our future looks different, that we can pick up an object and put it in a device and it becomes one, that our real world becomes one with the technology, and that we can live and bring technology into our world and live as one, that we don't have to be tied to something. And that the people we're interacting with can be one with our technology, and that your computer becomes our fingertips, and that you just put these things in your fingertips and you can just, the world of technology is a part of your world. And it was, wow, wow. And the more he talked about the potential was crazy. And I've watched it and thinking, we can separate from our devices and bring our technology into our world. We don't have to go into the technology. And it really was a powerful way of shaping our future. So that's a lot of what a TED Talk is. I would encourage you, when you think about what your idea is, that you keep it to one idea, just one idea. The Puzzle of Motivation does that. He opens up by saying, I don't have a story. I'm going to make a case, and I'm going to convince you that there's science and there's what businesses do, and they're not aligned. And he says that over and over and over again. That's his one idea. He does it very well. He stays very simple and he breaks it down. And so I want to make that clarity and that distinction with this next point, that you want to support your idea with context. Hundreds of people apply to be a TED speaker. Hundreds, just at San Antonio, just in San Antonio. And so many don't get the opportunity. And what I want to share with you is so many people apply with their story. Here's my story. But the idea is what TEDx is looking for. The context is your story. The story is what supports your idea. And what people put forth is their story that buried in there is an idea. So I encourage you to think about, what is my idea? And I'm going to put that forth. And I'm going to wrap that around a context, which is my story. And I'm going to build that with concepts, which are metaphors or stories. Every one of those top 10 TED Talks that I shared with you have metaphors and stories and concepts to support their idea. At the end of the day, your idea must be worth sharing beyond you. It has to be more than about you. Who will benefit from your idea? What will others do differently? What will they learn? What will they see that is different? That's what it all comes down to. Is this a new idea? Are you going to challenge the norm? Are you going to teach me something? Those are the questions that you should be asking yourself and being prepared to answer when you apply. Before I move on to steps, are there any questions? Feel free to come off of mute or just pop them into the chat box. Any questions? Yes.
So I do have a question.
Yes.
I know that in TED Talk, because I watch a lot of them, there are a lot of topics that are out there, but there are a lot of duplications. So how do I set myself apart? Say, for example, mine is about caring in healthcare, but there are other TED Talks about the same topic. So how do I, as a newbie wanting to get in for a TED Talk, set myself apart, not to challenge them, but to add my idea or my spin? How do I do that? When
Excellent.
there are thousands of other applicants for the same idea, but just a different spin. I hope I understand. I hope
Yes.
I explained the question.
Excellent question. So what you want to focus on is your idea. You are not in competition. You're not in competition. So for example, if you apply to speak at TEDx San Antonio, they may choose to put you on the red dot. That may, and then that is loaded up to the region and then to the global. How much that gets picked up, who chooses to see your idea, who doesn't, is up to the public. You're not competing. There's not a competition. It's an open source. So what the public does, if your idea resonates more than it does, if the way you say it is different and people understand it better, then they will hear you. But it will all be uploaded. So your responsibility is, am I clear on my idea? Do I deliver it in a way that is compelling? And the big question is, have I created a presentation that people care? Do they want to hear it? Is it important to them? So that's your responsibility. So I'm going to move on.
From the chat.
Yes.
Is there a TEDx group in Austin?
Great question. There is a license held in Austin, and it is not active, but there is a TEDx in the university. So there is an active educational TED.
All right, Sandy Watson.
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
When you give a talk on TEDx, does it have to be scientifically based? Is it any of it motivational? Can
So,
you just go to inspire?
Tony Robbins was not scientific, it was all motivational. But whatever his motivation was grounded in accepted theory.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so there's
some big shoes to follow.
Yeah. So and we get motivational speeches all the time. What is it that you're wanting to do? What is the idea? Are you just wanting to motivate people? Because that speech might not belong on the red dot. We have other opportunities. But if there's an idea about motivation, so when you think about Brene Brown, that was incredibly motivating, right? So that would be, what is the big idea when you say, so when you think about Tony Robbins, his was, why are we doing what we're doing? So there was an idea in there.
Can it be to try to encourage people to see? I was thinking about my platform would be organ donation. Is that acceptable?
So we can talk offline about what specifically is or isn't, and I'm happy to coach you on what would be how to get your idea sold. Okay. Because a call to action is appropriate. It's appropriate. Okay. Very appropriate from the TEDx.
Okay.
In fact, you'll hear it at almost all the end of at the end of almost all TEDx, you'll have a call to action.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Absolutely. So I'm going to move on in the essence of time. The steps. Your number one goal, the first thing you do is you answer the question, what is my great idea? Is it worth spreading that I want to get out of my head and into the heads of others? You must answer that question first. Because when you go to the site to apply, the first question after what is your name is, what is your great idea that is worth spreading? And you must be able to articulate that. And here's where I want to differentiate between being a Toastmaster and being a TED talker. I have seen Toastmasters and professional speakers. Sonny Melendez is a perfect example, and he's really good. He was a TED talker, and he said, it took me so many times to apply, and finally I got it. He is an incredible speaker. And what he continued to do was submit these polished presentations. So here's the difference between being a TED talker and a Toastmaster. Toastmasters does a phenomenal job of teaching us the mechanics of being a good speaker. We learn at Toastmasters how to structure our speech and how to structure our speech based on the presentation. We learn fabulous openings, wonderful closings, how to organize the content. Is it a persuasive? Is it a comedy? Is it informative? We learn different formats. We learn our body language. We learn eye contact. We learn how to connect with the audience. We learn vocal variety. We learn exceptional mechanics of speaking. So when you go to apply, there's a tendency to submit a video, because you'll be required to submit a video of this polished presentation. And that is not what a TED Talk your curators are looking for, because there's going to be months of a vetting process where you're going to get, just like Toastmasters, lots of feedback and lots of readjustments and lots of practice. You will walk on and step onto that red dot having had a lot of feedback and a lot of practice. You will be able to deliver that talk with confidence. They're not looking for a polished speaker. They'll get you there. What they're looking for is, do you have clarity of what your idea is? So when you go to apply and you submit that video, your job, what the curators are looking for, can you sell your ideas to why is it important? Why you? You have to tell them why you. Why are you the one to share this idea? How are you going to support your big idea? And is there science, if it's needed? What is the science or the need or the research behind your idea? How is it? How do you know? What are the numbers? What is the data? How will you support it? That's what the video will be about, not a polished presentation of you delivering your idea, because they'll get you there. Your job in applying is to sell the curators on why your idea needs to be spread and why you're the person to do it. That's the difference, and I can't encourage you enough. Yes, Sandy, I would love to talk to you later. So the video really is about you. Please, I encourage you, don't be afraid to share your idea. Nobody's going to steal your idea. I promise you. I promise you. Nobody's going to steal it. Wholly share everything and all of your ideas about what you want to say. So that's the big steps. On the PowerPoint that I'm going to give you at the end, it has all of the links of where you go and what to do and where to apply. But that's the big thing. You're going to have to answer the question, what is your name? What's your big idea? Please submit a video. Okay? Before I move on, what other questions do you have about the application?
You were talking about science and data.
Mm-hmm.
So that is also key to your application, is to show them the data research.
Or at a minimum where you're drawing your conclusions from.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
so if you're going to speak to healthcare,
mm-hmm.
I'm just going to pull a topic out of the air. Let's just say I want to talk about how the need for data has taken my hands off of my patients. I don't know what your idea is, but say that's what I wanted to talk about. Where's that research? So I might say, 10 years ago, we were required to report this much, and the percentage of time that nurses had their hands on the patient was this. Now we're required to, today, the percentage of time that we are required to sit at a computer and input data is this, which means now my hands are on the resident, on the patient, this much time. And so this need to report and say I'm treating my resident well is taken away. So there would have to be some kind of, where are you drawing that data from other than your own personal experience? Because it's out there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's just a pull from air, that isn't in the healthcare today. So the question becomes, you have a voice, you have an idea, you have a story, you have something that's burning in your heart. Is the red dot for you? Is that the place for you? So how many of you have ever been at it? Not everybody's on camera, but you can use the hand cue. How many of you have been at a TEDx event? Anybody? So not very many. Okay. So there's many events. And so I want to share with you. So Fiesta for the Mind has many, many events. The TEDx San Antonio main event that you're welcome to attend. And that will be coming up in October again this year. That you can volunteer. You could just go and sign. And we love volunteers. And we really encourage people that want to be a speaker to come and volunteer and see the back end, what it takes, what the vetting process is, what the coaching process is, what we put speakers through, what it looks like. Come meet past speakers and volunteer. The other thing that's happening, and all these links are on the PowerPoint, is the Red Dot Cafe. We currently have a Red Dot Cafe that we conduct every month where we bring in past speakers and we talk about their topics. We just had recently two speakers come in, which we were past speakers. We had a speaker speak to the voting process and how he felt like the voting process was broken and needed fixing. And we had another speaker speak to how people were elected and the whole election process. So we brought them in 2020 and said, would you like to reflect on your speech and talk to us about what's happening now? It was a wonderful conversation. And so people got to come in and talk to the speakers about their speeches and what that means today. And it was a fabulous conversation. In that arena, you would have the opportunity to interact with some past speakers, connect with them. They are all lovely people. The other thing that we have is salon events. So there's the main event, and then I am an organizer of salon events. I organize TedX San Antonio Women, TedX San Antonio Speaker Workshop, and then we also have, this year we'll have the LGBT plus salon event. So a salon event is a smaller event that's more connected to a focused topic on one thing. So in those events, oftentimes those that have applied for the main event and we're not, hi Scott, so glad you're here. Those that are selected or not selected for the main event, I draw from those. Last year for my TEDx San Antonio Women's event, every one of my speakers who was not selected for the main event because it wasn't appropriate for the red draw, I selected as an exceptional speaker, just what we were looking for our women's event. And they were powerful speakers, powerhouses. They were amazing in that venue. And they were recorded and uploaded to the TEDx site. So maybe the main event isn't your place. A salon event may be your place. We have a healthcare focus, a wellness salon event coming up. We also have TEDx circles. I facilitate TEDx circles, which anybody can volunteer to facilitate a TEDx circle where we take a TED talk, invite people in and talk about it. So there are many other TEDx franchises. There's one on Lackland Air Force Base, Palo Alto College, Austin College. There's 5 licensees out in Houston. The other stage that I encourage you to look in, and all of these links are on the PowerPoint that you're going to get. Texas Public Radio has a venue called Worth Repeating. If you have a compelling story that you want to share, that is the place. It's a fabulous place. Creative Mornings is a wonderful place to share ideas. If you have a political drive and it's like, I just want to change something political, Sitting at San Antonio has a long list of places where you can sign up and say, I want to come speak. I have something to say. You work hard in Toastmasters to refine your voice, focus your message, perfect your delivery. The world needs to hear you. They want to hear you. The question becomes, who is your audience? Is it TEDx? Is it the red dot? Find your place and share your voice on the platform that fits your message. There's many, many platforms. And I'm happy to share that with you. So I would love to answer any questions. I think we just have a couple minutes and I want to send that PowerPoint to Ryan. Do you want me just to put it in the chat box or send it to you?
Chat box is perfect.
Okay. What questions do you have?
Andy asked earlier, but you actually do coach?
I do. I am a coach.
This is just so exciting. It's so exciting. I think I know what I want to be when I grow up now.
Yay.
There are a number of questions in chat. The first one that I see is, do you have to live in San Antonio to be part of the TEDx org there?
No, we have people from all over. Last year we had coming from Houston. We've had them coming from Dallas. We have them come from all over.
Next, are the salon events free?
To speak or to attend?
Doesn't clarify.
Hold on. Ryan, Ryan, I'm emailing you. What is your email? I'm sorry, and then I'll answer.
Moving
Trying to
on,
get-
next question. Can you expand on what a license is? And I think I missed the definition of the red dot.
Can you say that again?
Can you expand on what a license is? And I think I missed the definition of the red dot. So it's kind of a two-part question.
So a license is just who holds the, in order for TEDx to be here, somebody has to hold a license to have a franchise for there to be a platform. And then a red dot, thank you for asking for that. The red dot, in any TED Talk, you stand on a red dot. So that was, thank you for asking that question. In TED world, when you walk out, you stand literally on a red dot.
So for the salon events, it's for attendance? Is it free to attend the salon events? Is there, or your
No, the
local-
salon events, there's typically a cost to attend,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
but it's minimal. It's less than $30.
Cora, I got a live question.
Yes.
Or maybe it's a reaction or whatnot. Loved your presentation. It's great to see you again. It's been a few years. And I am so happy to know that I know somebody in the TEDx now. A few years ago, I looked into the TEDx. And I've been, I guess, mixing in there with Sonny Melendrez for 20 years. And I knew he used to host it and he was a speaker and all that. He prefers to host it. So I looked into it and I got the application. And I thought I had the greatest TED Talk in the world, you know, because
Right.
But somewhere there's like 7 things. Does your speech do this? Does your speech do that? And it's on the official application, those 7 things. I didn't see you cover those. I thought you did a great job. I didn't see you cover those 7 things that it takes, because my son nailed me, which means I probably would have had a great TED Talk, because every time he says don't do something in Toastmasters, it goes over great. But has somebody done your speech before? And again, I know you got to have your own twist on it, but that's the one that stopped me. And again, this was 4 or 5 years ago, so it was before all my comedy exploits, and it was probably on motivational, 10 things that help you make money. Who knows what I was speaking on back then? But I got stopped on the application by, has your talk been done again? So somewhere along the lines, somebody said, Google your topic and TED Talks. So I did that, and man, was there 400 different thousand of my damn speech that I'm writing already done. So again, it's not a real question. It's not a shared experience.
It's a real question. So when you apply, you'll answer your question, you'll submit your video, and then there's some disclosure questions, right? Do you have the right to this? And do you, right? When you say, has anybody else ever spoke on this? So going back to the healthcare question or the donor question, do I stop because somebody else spoke on healthcare? Or do I stop because somebody else spoke regarding donor? If I go and watch that and their point is different from mine, if somebody else, if I want to speak to happiness, but somebody else spoke about happiness, when I watch it, if it's different from my take, then it's my take. If I'm going to go speak on transactional analysis and somebody else already spoke on transactional analysis, that's not new. We already know about transactional analysis. And so bringing forth something that is proven, that we all know, that is an accepted ideal, isn't a new idea. So again, TedX is about, do you have a new idea? So if I'm coming to the platform and I just want everybody to do something that we already know exists. So if I'm going to come and say, people shouldn't drink and drive, because that's my passion, that can be my passion. The red dot might not be the place for that. There's other places and other platforms.
What you're saying is you really got to have your own twist, but
You have to have a new idea. It's a
I wish I
new
wouldn't have
idea.
stopped pursuing it, but now that I know you, and I've known you for a few years now that I know you are in the back, I can contact you later and maybe volunteer and, like you said, see what's going on behind the scenes. Whether I ever do a TED Talk or not, that's fine. Did you ever get involved with the whole process is what I'm thinking.
And think about your idea. So in the essence of time, I think we're over time, yes? I have emailed the slides to Ryan, and Ryan is just waiting for it to show up.
What we might be able to do is post it on the website.
Okay.
For the conference, because I do want to be able to share what you got with our keen audience.
Yeah. So all of that has all the links, all the information, all of the videos. I encourage you to go watch the top 10 videos that I shared. All those links are there, and all of the information where you can go. And then my contact information is on there. If you have questions, I'm more than happy to talk to anybody offline that is interested in all of the opportunities to participate as a TED Talker, or a salon, or creative mornings, but I think that is our time, and we want to keep everybody on time because we're Toastmasters, right, Ryan?
Oh, Cora. Hey, I missed it. I was looking forward to this one, the TED Talks, because I love TED Talks. So I missed your speech. So how does it work? When it says education, you can really only select the one out of the three. You can't really listen to all of them.
I believe it's recorded.
Oh, it is. Okay, cool. So like I can go watch it